On slitter rewinders, particularly center winders, there's really three different types of rewind shafts that are used. Lock core, pure differential, and this kind of friction style differential. Why do you use one versus another? Again, it really depends on the material, the application, the buildup ratio, the slit width. And in a lot of cases, there's not one shaft that's right for your application. We have customers that'll buy differential shafts when they get into that product range and switch them out and use lock core shafts for others. Let's talk a little bit about an application versus another application. This is narrow slitting. And in narrow slitting, in this particular case, it's foam tape. Foam tape happens to be compliant and it allows it to squish just a little bit. And even if there's some slight variation in caliper, you don't really see it in this particular type of material. So when we're analyzing scenarios, we're looking at all sorts of things. We're looking at slit width. We're looking at buildup ratio. We're starting at a 3-inch core and putting on 150 feet, or are we going all the way up to 32-inch diameter like you're looking at here? We're looking at edge formation, ease of setup, how quickly we can find the location on cores. There's a lot of factors that we look at when we think about shaft types. And there's some overlap. You can use one shaft or another and get through similar products. Maybe we'll start with cam lock shafts. So these are cam lock differentials. And what does that mean? There's a ring here, and the ring on the outside of it has these locks. They're designed to grab the core and hold the core. It twists just a little bit and it holds the core. So really the outside perimeter of these locks is doing one thing only, grabbing the core. They make these in a lot of different variations, and we have developed the ones that we feel are best for a wide range of products, whether it's light tension, heavy tension, with a lay-on roll, without a lay-on roll to start, paper, plastic. Those are all conditions to make up the criteria for choosing the type of ring that we use. And they also come in different widths. So this is like a 1/2 inch roughly ring, and this is like a 1-inch ring. There's reasons for that too. So really, if we remember, the outside of this just does one thing, grabs and holds the core. Friction, or tension in your case, is really coming from the inside. These rings are stacked up and they go on a special type of air shaft that has felt bladders. And these felt bladders are providing friction between the rings and the body to create different torques. So with 5 psi of air, we might get a low torque. With 75 psi of air, we'll get a higher torque. And there's typically 3 around on these shafts, and that gives us a certain torque range for winding. And the differential shaft has some great advantages. If we have materials that have caliper issues, say we've got a hard band in the middle and it's going to wind slightly different, each and every one of these slit lanes is running like it has its own motor, meaning that these cam locks are controlling just that slit. Now, what would happen if we didn't have that? If this was just a straight air shaft, the tallest or the highest cut would get all of the tension for the entire bar. So like in this case, we have 3 cuts. If the middle was a little thicker, a little gaugier, and it was winding, that would multiply out. And over time, this would be tight and the end cuts would be loose. But with a differential shaft, each one of them is pulling the right amount of torque. And with this particular type of differential, it's pulling the right amount of torque per width of core. So in this case, we have what looks to be like a 12-inch cut and a couple 6-inch cuts. The 6-inch cuts are getting the right torque for its width against the cam lock rings, and the 12-inch is getting the right torque for that wider one. So it's delivering torque per inch of width. We call that inch-pounds per inch. And it's kind of a natural inherent thing. It's really nice. It's not uncommon for our customers to have a lot of different slit widths or use the machine for reworks and bring a narrow web through the machine and get just the right amount of torque for a narrow rework lane. So it gives you all sorts of capabilities. So where do you find cam lock shafts? You find them on a lot of film machines, flexible packaging machines, things of that nature. Do you have to use them? No, you really don't, because there's other ways to wind this. If the machine is designed with the right torque control and built into the machine, you can do a lot of things when the machine's designed for it. And there's a lot of good flat films that'll allow you to go pretty far. Now, when does caliper issues show up? Typically, it takes time. It's not going to happen on the first wrap. So imagine if we were running something that was 20 mils, but in reality, the ends were 19. You're not going to see a diameter differential until that starts to grow. And enough footage goes on there that starts to show a slight diameter differential. Where is that? Somewhere 12 inches, 15 inches, depends on, how big that caliper is. But that's when it really starts to creep in and show itself. On certain materials, you don't worry about it as much. Papers tend to be flat. Certain films, like polyester films, tend to be pretty flat. People use camlock shafts a lot on polyester film, but truth be told, it's not because the caliper usually. It's to do with some other things. And the shaft works great. So people just use them because it's common. So this is a camlock shaft, and these are various rings that go on there. It's not uncommon for us to switch between 3-inch and 6-inch goes on the same body shaft. Although we make different types of differential shafts for higher torque ranges, for heavier weight capacities, different diameter cores. 3 and 6 is by far the most popular, but we've made them up to 18-inch diameter, I believe, maybe larger. But these camlocks come in a lot of varieties. And when you're looking at applications, it's important to kind of get a good look at the typical products that go through the machine, the slit widths, material thicknesses, and the buildup ratio or final diameter that you're trying to make, because that'll really help you determine the right solution. At Catbridge, we have a lab, and a lot of times if we think we know the range and we want to get some reinforcement, we'll run the material 20 inches or less typically in the lab and figure out the type of ring that we need, the tension that we're going to put into that material, the taper, with lay-on roll, without lay-on roll, closed loop, et cetera, but giving you an introduction today to just what camlock differential winding look like. Very common, and it's a very pure type of differential where each and every lane is pulling on its own per width of core. So as I run this video, you're seeing this film. In this case, it's thin. I'm running 48 gauge polyester here, and the camlocks are doing a beautiful job. This machine is accelerating up to a couple thousand feet a minute, and you're really looking at nice, clean results and being unloaded onto the tree. Here's another example of camlock differentials running. There's 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. This machine's heading towards 2,500 feet a minute. So we're just coming, through our acceleration point. These are cantilevered shafts, so it's gonna go to an unloading tree. And you can see each and every lane is pulling nice. We're getting good results. This particular machine has load cells, so we're closing the loop on these shafts, which is great because over a period of time, some of them are between 6 weeks and 3 months, the shaft calibration changes slightly. And when we close the loop, it allows us to not worry about different tensions being applied to the shaft.